Good evening. We'll wait a few moments. Anyway, welcome everyone. More the merrier with cameras on, the more we can feel like we're in person. It's a tough task, but we can come close, at least long enough to say hello, hear each other, see each other, and get the benefits of that lifting power of being together. Hey, Jim. Just in about 10 seconds, I'll invite you to unmute and say good evening to each other. Okay, anytime. Feel free. You can say where you're calling in from.
Hi, Pat from Regina, Saskatchewan.
Hey, Pat, welcome.
Jim calling in from the mission and the Murray. No, another day. Today, the mission.
Mary
Welcome,
in Santa
Jim.
Barbara.
Hey, Mary.
Frank, San Francisco.
Hey, Frank. Good to see you.
Paul, San Francisco.
Hey, Paul. Glad you're here.
Miriam, Scottsdale.
Hi, Miriam.
Linda from Regina, Saskatchewan.
Hi, Linda.
Amy, Mitchell.
Hey, Noemi.
Hey, Howie.
Laura from Maryland. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Laura. Glad you're with us. And
Angela, San Francisco.
hi, Ajala.
Lisa,
Michael.
San Francisco.
I missed the name, but
Lisa.
hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Michael from New York City.
Hi, Michael. Welcome.
I'm Stuart from San Francisco.
Welcome, Stuart.
Thank you.
Eileen in Sebastopol, hiding behind a photo.
That's okay, Eileen. Glad you're with us.
Me too.
This is John from the Ingleside neighborhood in San Francisco.
Welcome, John.
Michael from Edmonton.
Hey, Michael.
Devin, currently in Maine.
Hey, Devin. Oh, you're up in Maine. All right.
Seema from Nob Hill.
Hello, Seema.
Not the fancy
Welcome.
part.
I
Hey,
thought it was down Maine. Sorry.
could you say that again, Eileen?
My mother's from Boston and she always said down Maine. I don't know.
Down Maine. Okay. Anyway, welcome everyone. Glad to hear your voices. Glad to know we have a chance to sit together to at least momentarily put aside our notions of the past. Maybe remember for a moment that the past is just memories, and give up the future and remember the future is just a dream. There's no reality to it. There's just this. And we shouldn't have to be reminded, but we tend to leave this for some imagined past or future, and often feel somewhat distressed by the uncertainty that future is the past has just passed. So this is our chance to reclaim our connection with reality.
Yeah.
It's unfolding now. And the way we do that is we practice together. Just the force of practicing with others just holds us here a little bit more than we would be able to easily by ourselves. And then our attention put in the same place as our body also calls us here. And then our commitment to the truth of the way things are, the presently arising experience, as a doorway to awakening. As a group, we embrace that possibility. And the combination of all those helpful points of each other, the Dharma, and then the Buddha that lives in us, the wakefulness in us, we can reliably find some relief. So, without further ado, please find an upright, relaxed posture. And let your eyes close softly. Just a reminder that it's not a practice so much of doing, it's a practice of receiving alertly. We can open initially just to sound. The sounds of wherever you are living, the sound of my voice, the sound of silence. Making no effort to hear sound, just let the sounds arise and let listening happen by itself. In a way, we can sense that our mind is open, welcoming, sky-like, just allowing the sounds to come and go in that open, welcoming space of being aware. And with that same welcoming, we can receive our sitting body that we recognize and experience directly as points of sensation, or stars flickering in an evening sky. And just feel those sensations. Receive the sensations alertly, with interest. And as we experience and receive the sensations more intimately, we feel the aliveness, vibration of the sitting body. And we can feel the way it expands and contracts and registers sensations when we breathe. And we let receiving our body, receiving our breath be a doorway to a calm abiding, just a serene welcoming of the sitting body and breath just as they are. And we add a little intention to sustain our connection with this experience of our body breathing. And receiving it, sustaining it as long as it lasts. Knowing that after some breaths, other experiences may call our attention, sounds, other sounds. We may experience moods. We feel those as well. We receive them as internal weather. We may notice thoughts and images floating through our mind like clouds. And with all these experiences that may become stronger than the sensations of breath and the general sensations of body, we just welcome them. We notice what happens to them. We experience their changing nature. And this reminds us to let go, to let be, not to cling to the changing. It's also likely that from time to time after several breaths, your mind will start thinking, and mindfulness may not rise up to notice it. And you might wander lost in thought, dreaming, daydreaming. One of the functions of mindfulness is to wake us up. When mindfulness re-arises, comes back online, we appreciate that moment of mindfulness coming back and allowing us to see that we've been dreaming. And celebrate that reawakening and the opportunity then to settle back into that welcoming, receptive awareness and receive once again the breath and sustain as long as we can. Just this moment, just this breath, or whatever becomes predominant. Each presently arising experience is welcome and equal. And mindfulness has no interest in getting rid of anything. It just bears witness to the way things self-liberate. They go by themselves. To know whether this is true, we look within the nature of our minds and see what happens, moment by moment. Just this moment. Just this breath. No matter how many times you realize you've been lost in a thought bubble, wandering, each moment of recognition that is a moment of mindfulness, doing what it does best, wakes us up to where we are, returns us to that sky-like openness and impartiality, everything welcome. And anchoring our attention in our body and breath, and help us remain at rest in this sky-like openness. Able to meet each presently arising experience, sounds, a whole world of sensations, thoughts, images, everything welcome. Just being aware. Supported by the body and breath. Not only can we be aware of sense objects, the breath, body, sounds, moods, but awareness is self-knowing, so we can be aware of being aware. Just look at the nature of being aware. Your mind is clear. It's empty. Not made of anything. It's shining. It contains all experience, but it's not bound or limited by it. It's free, open. Rest in this open, welcoming, impartial awareness. Experiencing breath, body, life as it is, in the here and now, just this moment, just this breath, just being aware. Thanks for going on the Dharma ride with me tonight. I felt like we were just kind of drifting through the nature of the mind a little bit. Really felt a lot of appreciation for being able to practice together and remind myself and you of the good news, this nature of our own mind, this nature of being aware that it's open, it's pretty quiet, it's what we notice may not be quiet, but the nature of being aware is quiet. And just to be in touch with that feeling of being aware, just doesn't want anything. It has no agenda other than to just notice. And it's nice to experience, to have access to being free of wanting something. And at every moment of just attending, resting in that state of being aware, we're resting in a state of non-contentiousness, non-greed, non-hatred, non-confusion, the absence of the poisons that cause so much stress to our lives and our minds, this world. So anyway, thank you. Just felt happy to be practicing tonight. Wondering any comments, questions about what you noticed tonight, or topics that emerge from it. As always, whatever is on your mind will likely be of some benefit to someone else. So please feel free. Pat, I'll have to unmute. There you go.
Hi, everyone. Just what you said at the end, what I noticed in the sitting tonight, that it's interesting how, having meditated for many years, sometimes we hear something and it feels like it's for the first time. You were talking about being receptive. And I just found that so powerful, kind of like what you were saying. It's just like all day I'm doing. I'm busy. What comes next, etc. The stress and sometimes the happiness and the joy. It just felt such a relief just to be,
Yes.
there was a peacefulness to it, a groundedness to it. So yeah, I just really wanted to emphasize what you were saying. It's a real gift, and to be able to sit together and to be someone guiding us who's got the wisdom and the heart that you do. At first I was hearing all the sounds and then it just settled. It was just such a gift. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Pat. I hear the wisdom in your words. Anyone else? This is success. I've rendered you speechless. Mary, please feel free.
Hey, Howie. Sorry, the lights out. It's been really hot here. We had a little heat wave. I just wanted to sort of say something similar, that I felt very grateful tonight for this. I was feeling today upset about some of the stuff going on. It's like, seems like get worse stuff. to deal with every day. But and I feel I can't believe it. I just feel completely peaceful right now. What an incredible gift, you know. So somebody
Wonderful.
gave me the peaceful transfusion or something. Thank you,
Great.
Howie, and thank
Appreciate
you
it.
everyone there for making this possible for us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. It's your birthright to be at peace. Of course, that's not exactly what we're taught. We're taught that satisfy your longings and desires and secret to happiness, to satisfy your hunger for more. Unfortunately, that whole little consumer machine is designed to make us hungrier. It doesn't design, it tells you it causes happiness, but it actually blocks our way to the state of real ease and joy. As one teacher says, it claims to all about making people happy, but actually makes us miserable. So that's the beauty of the Dharma. It just kind of points us right back to this natural peace and ease that's available. Anyone else before I start launching into stray thoughts? Don't be bashful. Anyway, I was especially appreciative tonight of the paradox of there are many paradoxes in our practice, but the paradox of all this natural great peace, this nature of mind, and then how much training that it seems necessary to be able to appreciate that, you know, to recover or rediscover that in our hearts we have a source of well-being and peace, and not to be found anywhere else. But it seems like only those who kind of work hard to train their attention to stay here tend to realize that. So generally, if I were just to say the beginning of your practice training, my practice training, just rest in natural great peace, we would just mostly space out. Because our mental habits are so practiced at distracting ourselves, at trying as much as we can not to actually be here, but to focus intensely on and obsess on what's next, how things will turn out, and how things should be, and try to find certainty in life and stability and how things turn out. And unfortunately, life is marked by uncertainty. The unknown, we have no idea what will happen next. And so any association with relief that gets practiced over and over, that's tethered to what's next, is a source of, actually reinforces the feeling of tension and reinforces the feeling that I can't really be fine now. That my happiness depends on finding certainty, holding on, acquiring, fixing, figuring out, problem solving. So much practice at leaning, toppling forward into that imagined future that I spoke of at the beginning that never arrives. And overshooting the fact, the ultimate fact that time is always now and that this is it. So with that backdrop of conditioning, if we were just to say rest in natural great peace, this mind will just immediately, like the frog, it jumps off the plate after just a few seconds. You put the frog back again on the plate, it jumps off again. As Thich Nhat Hanh says, you have so many plans, there's something you want to become, therefore you always want to make a leap forward. He says it's difficult to keep the frog still on the center of the plate. He says you and I have Buddha nature in us, this impartial, sky-like openness. But you and I have frog nature in us, so the first fruition of our practice is an attainment of froglessness. So even though it's wonderful to share the good news that it's all, that we simply have to turn and about and bear witness to our nature and then rest in that receptive openness. Only those who tend to train their mind and support their practice with a touchstone to our body and the breath and learning how to pay attention to each presently arising thing. It's that moment-to-moment mindfulness that breaks the chain of seeking elsewhere, because mindfulness doesn't seek anything except to know the presently arising experience. So the different wisdom, the different strains of Buddhism emphasize different elements of the teaching. The Tibetan tradition, it's much more emphasis on recognizing the sky-like nature of the mind. And your mind its essence is empty. And its nature is clear and aware, cognizant. And its expression is this unconfined capacity to love, to be intelligent, to be intuitive. So it's this beautiful thing that lives in us, as our nature. But the paradox is only those who train their attention, and at least in the Tibetan tradition, you have all kinds of preliminary practices. They have nundro, you have visualization, you have this and you have that. And, some of it, the joke is that all of these practices are just trying to exhaust our mind. But the beautiful thing about insight meditation, practice that we do here, is that you learn a lot on the way. By training your attention to notice each presently arising experience, you inevitably become an expert on the nature of experience. Not just the nature of the mind that knows, which is something that will, eventually reveals itself. We start to sense the fragrance of the natural mind that's very open. But along the way that we're able to sense that fragrance is we notice moment to moment each experience a little bit more carefully, and you see that every experience, every sensation, every sound, every thought, you become less involved in the content of what you're noticing, and you start to see what's common to every experience. And you see that it comes and it goes, and you experience the cessation of the changing experiences. You see them come and then you see them vanish. And what you see over and over comes and goes. You see you cannot hold on to. You cannot cling to. It can't be me. You see that it's selfless. Anything. Everything that we usually take to be me and mine, we see that it's not really something that we can own. And the only way we all know this logically, you can't cling to anything. But until you see it very directly, there's still a kind of misplaced faith that we put in things to bring us a reliable happiness and whatever. And because of that misplaced faith, we actually grab and we cling and we get really attached to things and to people and to places and to life and to youth and to health. And it's really the heart of the liberating teachings that there's nothing. What's the most pith instruction that the Buddha ever gave? Nothing whatsoever should be clung to as I or mine. Sometimes it's translated as I, me, or mine. And he says, whoever's heard this teaching has heard the entire teaching. Whoever practices it has practiced the entire teaching. Whoever realizes this freedom through non-clinging, whoever is able then to just rest in that state of openness and have it be stable, have it be a little bit more continuous, a little less stressing out every day. Then the world, the world may not, our struggles with the world can really stop, but we're actually freed up to help. I wanted to read a sutra tonight. I can't even pronounce the word, but it's a sutta called Liberation by Destruction of Craving. And it's the Chula Tanha is craving, Chula Tanha Sankhya Sutta. Sutta is discourse. And it's kind of magical because it's the Buddha having a conversation with Saka, who's the king of the gods. And the Saka, the king of the gods, having stood to one side of the Buddha, asked the Blessed One this: briefly, Venerable Sir, how does a monk become liberated? Now, to me, any of you are practicing, you're monks. You've gone forth tonight into, at least for the night, you're monks. You're going against the stream of the world. Anyway, briefly, Venerable Sir, how does a monk become liberated by the destruction of craving, attain the ultimate aim, ultimate peace from bondage, ultimate holy life, the ultimate goal, and so be the best among gods, goddesses, and humans? King of gods, here and now, this is the Buddha. A monk has come to learn all things are not worth clinging to. King of gods, when a monk has come to learn all things are not worth clinging to, he directly knows each thing. Having directly known each thing, they accurately know each thing. Having accurately known each thing, whatever sensation they experience, whether pleasant or painful, or neither painful or pleasant, they dwell seeing impermanence in those sensations. They dwell seeing fading away. They dwell seeing cessation. They dwell seeing relinquishment, letting go. As they dwell seeing impermanence in those sensations, as they dwell seeing fading away, as they dwell seeing cessation, as they dwell seeing relinquishment, letting go, they do not cling. They do not cling to anything whatsoever in the world. Not clinging, they are not agitated. Not being agitated, they individually attain nibbana, the unborn, the unconditioned. They come to know this: birth is destroyed, the holy life is fulfilled, what had to be done is done, this state of being is no more. Briefly, King of gods, that is how a monk becomes liberated by the destruction of craving, attains the ultimate aim, the ultimate peace from bondage, the ultimate holy life, the ultimate goal, and so is the best among gods, goddesses, and humans. So you can see all over the teaching, there's this realization of nibbana. You know, any moment that you're resting in the unconditioned, uncaused awareness that is here, there is a little fragrance of nirvana. It's free, it's open. But only those who actually train the mind to see the impermanence and learn how to let go, how to experience that non-clinging, tend to let go a lot, let go completely. But it's also, so it's paradox. You're already intrinsically free, open, unconditioned, and only those who condition their mind to practice tend to realize it. Now, how's that relevant to our daily life? It's really noticing all through the day. Is my mind seeing things as they are? Am I taking refuge in the Dharma the way it is, not clinging? Or am I in a state of seeking? Am I in a state of craving? You know, if we reduced our practice down to just noticing in our daily life, whether there is greed in the mind at any moment, craving, clinging, attachment, knowing whether there's aversion in the mind, ill will, fear, resistance, boredom, or if there's delusion in the mind, if I'm building a whole personality view, a whole narrative. If we were just to notice, there's greed in the mind, there's nothing you need to do. Even that you can see as a changing condition, even if there's aversion in the mind. The not noticing of these three qualities of greed and aversion and delusion, the not noticing them causes a chain reaction of so much stress, so much of that association of our well-being with something needing to change. Mostly very personal. And when it becomes so personal, then it's really hard to be available. Again, I'm saying it different ways. It's hard to be available and responsive to the people around us. We're preoccupied with our own internal drama. So just noticing all through the day, is there awareness? We always start with that. Is there awareness? What am I aware of? And is my mind colored by grasping? The cool thing about bringing mindfulness to that is it self-liberates. You don't have to. Is my mind in a state of resistance or aversion? Just notice that. And then, just like the Buddha recommended here, see its arising, seeing its cessation. And with the cessation, notice this relinquishment, the feeling of letting go. So may we all be liberated. May we all remember to rest receptively in natural great peace. May we all notice, to the extent that we can remember, each presently arising experience. What the Buddha called one fortunate attachment. Any comments, questions? Since I didn't talk very long, or maybe I did. Okay.
You know, Howie, I could ask a couple questions here.
Please.
Things heard along the way that resonate with me, but are maybe somewhat different than what you've said. For instance, I heard from one, teacher with a PhD at the end of his name, or a doctor before or something. He said that the default mode of the mind is to think. And so versus the natural state of the mind, which I think you talked about, from the Tibetan point of view, for some reason, the default mode of the mind to think really resonates, because that's my experience, right? If I'm not paying attention to something, my mind it just starts to think.
Yeah, well, I would say the default conditioning of the mind is to think.
Okay, well, see, then, so what I would, so conditioning, but I think that's so for me, it resonates as the human experience, the way we've been
It does
designed.
for me as well. Same.
Okay, and then another thing I read that really resonates with me, and I can move it into other things in my life as well, is something that I read in a book called Mind Illuminated. I'm sure you've heard of it, by Kula Dasa, John Yates, PhD. It's a Bible on meditation, the most complete meditation book I ever read. And he said, it is not in your control when the mind wanders away.
Exactly.
Right? And it is not in your control when the mind returns.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's something, yeah.
And he said, what we can do is we can train, and he says it comes from the subconscious really makes these decisions, and we can train the subconscious to like being with the object or, in the present moment, such that it'll want to return. And that's kind of what we're doing. We're training it to like the present moment and keep on coming back.
That's right.
Okay, so you've agreed with both these things.
I say this every week, the same thing, that there's no one who wanders and there's no one who comes back. Mindfulness shows up when it shows up.
Yeah, and he says, from the subconscious, and he's a neuroscientist, this guy that wrote that particular thing. And I found if I looked at any choice that I've made in my life, pretty much, like, maybe getting good grades at school after a career of getting very average grades, I can see it was because getting good grades started to feel good. It was like my subconscious started to dig it and then suddenly I could study more. While before I couldn't. I just wasn't interested, right? And I almost think this is something that could be applied to just about everything. That we could train the subconscious to love it, to like it, and then we will do it. But short of that, we really don't have much choice. We're sort of slaves to whatever the subconscious wants to do. Anyways, that's my last comment. If you want to talk about that, happy to
Well,
hear about it.
I try not, in terms of Dharma, I try not to posit notions like subconscious, and because it creates a notion of something that I can't necessarily verify. So it's a kind of conceptual overlay on my experience. So, but I can know that sometimes there's awareness and sometimes there's unawareness, and that it's possible to actually train that, and whether it's subconscious that likes it, I'm not sure how that works, but yet it's something that gets stronger, and it becomes more, not just more pleasurable, becomes more interesting, and it brings love, and I call it the love of truth. That we love to see the way things are, and the more the dust clears from our eyes and we see more clearly, the more we love what we see, a kind of choiceless love. And whether it's unconscious or not, I don't know, but it does happen. And part of how it happens, it's conditioned, and it's conditioned by people practicing together like this, and hearing teachings that open up the possibility, and then one thing leads to another. And so whether it's the subconscious, the unconscious, the Akashic records, don't know, but I can see that it has something to do with the company you keep, has something to do with what you frequently dwell upon. And that becomes, as even the Buddha said, that becomes the inclination of our heart.
Thank you.
I want to know the name of that book again. Illuminated something or other.
Mind Illuminated by Kuladasa, John Yates, PhD. And a couple other PhD guys helped him, I think.
Thank you. Anyway, good to see you, Jim. Anybody else before we call it an evening? Noemi, please feel free.
Hello.
I know Amy.
Hi, Howie. What when you get into that philosophical discussion, like we just did, I was thinking, and that goes away from the other 5 sense organs.
Goes away from the...
It leaves out the other 5 sense organs and doorways.
Yes, yes.
And I'm just thinking, when we do that, it takes away from now, in a way, if we're caught up in calling whatever's going on.
Yes.
So I don't know if this is, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I get I'm trying to say, I'm trying to say, I think once we get back to really being in touch with what's going on with our bodies,
Yes.
that the mind stuff also fades away.
Yes.
So that's what I'm experiencing. And
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, because I think when we get into the intellectual idea about meditation,
Yes.
kind of defeats what we're doing in meditation.
Well said.
I don't know. I just know that I get caught up in the intellect too. And it takes me away from the present moment. And I think it looks like I really want to look at emptiness and what it means. In fact, a few weeks ago, I don't know what teacher who you had added simple mantra, empty, empty, happy, happy.
That's, yeah, I was telling you about Ajahn Jumnian.
Yeah. And so it's so funny. I think of things that I've cared about, like I could go into waxing about film theory, and I could get caught up in film theory, but when we're attached to it, I realized it's no more, not that interesting anymore. So I know the difference between, French New Wave and Italian, newer realism. It's like, who cares? And I think the same happens with Buddhism and the study. Um, I'm listening to Old Path,
Yeah.
White Clouds,
Right.
which is
Right. Yeah. Beautiful.
that Hunt's story about
About the
the
Buddha.
Buddha.
Yeah.
And I love his story when he talked about, when you're pointing at the moon and having someone look at the moon, how people look at the finger
Finger. Yes. Exactly.
instead of the moon. But
Exactly.
anyway,
Thank you.
thank you.
I agree 100%. You know, my favorite line in that book is the Buddha, when he realized that he wanted to go forth into life, into the discovery of life, he said for him going into his becoming a king, like being expanding, wanting, all that, he says for him it would be like sitting on a bed of coals if he's not doesn't have peace in his heart. He's not settled into the reality of the present. So I love the way Thich Nhat Hanh did that. Anyway, thank you, Noemi. I loved your comments and a great reminder to everyone to keep it simple. Anyway, I'm going to hand it off to you, Howie G, and then we'll come back and say goodnight to each other.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm here with a piece of news that I have been out of the country, so I may have missed this being mentioned before, but it's kind of exciting. There's going to be a community picnic in Golden Gate Park on Saturday, June 21st, which is not that far away. So you should mark it in your calendars. And if you were thinking of coming to San Francisco from out of town, it sounds like a good enough reason to do it. if you haven't read about it in the newsletter, I'll just share real quickly. It's going to be a gathering, a picnic gathering of all the participating sanghas of the San Francisco Insight Dharma Center, and there's 5 of them. And it's being hosted by Mission Dharma, San Francisco Insight, Upper Market Insight, Upper Market, SFBIPOC Insight Sangha, and their teachers, including Howie. So it's going to be a picnic, kind of a potluck, but there'll be food and cutlery and plates and stuff like that to share. So check it out on your invitation on your email that you got today. Saturday, June 21st from 11 to 3 at Lindley Meadow in Golden Gate Park. So I am going to be in town for that. So I'm pretty excited.
Yay.
It should be nice to see folks like you and also folks from the other sanghas and the teachers too, some of whom I haven't seen in decades. So that's the first cool thing. And the second thing is what you hear every week, because it's that important to remind you about Donna. And I realize I always get the meaning of Dana, the English translation, confused, because I know it's generosity, but I always think it's gratitude too. Maybe because they both start with G, but I know it's not literally gratitude, but I can't help but combine the two. So I'm I have a lot of gratitude for the Sangha, for the Dharma, for, for everything, and for the teachers, of course, and for you guys. And keeping this going involves sending some money if you have it, if you can. So please take the opportunity to, I'll put it in the chat, but I know we're going to end the meeting. I always do it too late. So look up the way to send Donna. Whatever you can afford is much appreciated, and thanks in advance.
Thank you, Howie G. And also don't forget, on the 28th of June, there'll be a half day in person at the San Francisco Dharma Collective. So in person, San Francisco, 28th of June. That's the week after the picnic. And thank you all for your generosity. Thank you for your practice tonight. Feel free to unmute and say good night to each other. Thanks for co-hosting, Howie G.
Thank you, Howie.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Good night. Thank you, Harry.
Sweet
Thank
dreams.
you all. Thank
Thanks,
you all.
Howie. Thanks, Naomi.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
See
Good
you.
night, Noemi.
Thank you, Noemi.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, everyone.